experience. She helps parents understand their children, subconscious and conscious minds, and how each one affects their behavior. So, Peggy, it's a really an honor to have you on here. And I mean, we're going to get to your book because I've been reading it on the train on my commute back and forth from Long Island to New York, and I want to thank you for that.
Well, thank you for reading it. I hope you like it.
Definitely. So before we get into revolutionizing your child's life, a simple guide to health, wealth, and welfare of your child, we have, I'm going to open the floor to you and tell us, give us your inspiration for writing this book.
Well, as you stated in my bio, I am definitely an executive and personal development coach, so I have clients from ages 6 to 70. And when I got in with the children and I could see how my technique worked, I thought that I would write a book for parents on preventative measures. And one thing that I do is we're all focused on negativity, such as, bullying, divorce, cutting, social media, internet. And I do preventative measures for parents. But I noticed that when I applied success principles to children in the course of my coaching, it really enhanced their progression. It was a very good thing to do. And I believe in teaching children to become like a kidpreneur, entrepreneurial skills. So that was my inspiration for writing the book, and the fact that I do think that there's hope for children out there. And so all the proceeds from my book are going to go for me to start an orphanage.
Oh, okay. That's wow. Hey, you just topped you just topped everyone else right there. I know this is a series. I know you have 2 other books also, but I want to get into a couple of topics and just to let you elaborate on them. Give us your thoughts on how decluttering our homes and workspace will make us a more productive throughout the day.
To do that with your home, you have to clear your mind. It's like any client that comes in. Whatever is going on and you want to change on the outside, you have to begin by changing it on the inside. That's why I teach a lot about people understanding the conscious mind, which is your reasoning mind. And your conscious mind, you have the ability to accept or reject anything at the conscious level. However, once you accept it, it goes into the subconscious mind and that produces your results. So if you want to change your actions and your results, you have to begin by changing your way of thinking. And I think that's like in Decluttering Homes, I've written several articles in magazines and whatnot. People tend to get overwhelmed, and that's why they stop the process, because it's just overwhelming to them. But if you can calm yourself in your mind, then you have clarity in anything you're going to do physically.
I got to tell you, my next topic is, could you give us, and I'm really speaking for myself, Peggy, could you give us some easy tips to jumpstart the decluttering process?
Well, it's one step at a time, and I think that once you, the very first thing that I teach in any part of my coaching program and even in the decluttering process is to meditate and get clarity in your mind. Once you get that calmness in your mind, then you can look at things in an organized fashion. So you do one step at a time, one room at a time, one project at a time. People become overwhelmed and they think, I need to get all of this done, and they can't put it into perspective. So that's one thing that I teach them how to do.
So, Peggy, no one has the 40-hour work week doesn't exist nowadays. And I think maybe for the past 10 years or so, it doesn't exist. With the advent of everyone being connected all the time, our employers nowadays, I guess, are getting 50 and 60-hour work weeks from us. Give us some tips on ways to reduce work commitments so that we have more time to do things that we love.
Well, that's why I think executive and personal development coaching go hand in hand. because I teach a lot about balancing career and family obligations. And I think that's basically what you're talking about here. And so you have to be able to, when you leave work, to leave work at work, and when you get to work, leave home at home. And that's very difficult for people to do. So again, I always begin with teaching people how to calm their mind first and set appointments with themselves. People don't understand that we as entrepreneurial or corporate world or any type of employment, we all tend to have that scatteredness about us. And so if you set an appointment with yourself as you do in your work appointments, it's easier to stay focused with that.
Well, it would help if I took the mute button off.
Okay. I was like, oh my goodness, I lost you there for a minute.
No. I asked you a question, and I'm sitting here like, okay, this is going to be one heck of an answer. Sorry about
I'm like, do I need to hang up and call back in?
No.
Oh, no. So that's what makes it so fun, right?
Yes. So sorry about the dead air. I said my wild card question was, so does work-life balance really exist?
Oh, absolutely. I teach all of my executive clients. They come in and they're scattered and they have so many projects going on. They can't get clarity. Again, I mean, I could hand anyone a plan of action when you come into my office, but it won't work unless you get clarity in your own mind. And to be able to separate the two, then you can do it if you can learn how to meditate and calm your mind. You absolutely can.
Gotcha. So could you give us a few ways to simplify our daily routines?
To simplify your daily routines is basically what some of the things I sound like I'm repeating myself, but to have that scheduling process, you have to have clarity, and to get up early and meditate, exercise, I believe all of those help with our daily routines. They help you get that calmness before you begin. And then, like, once you get to work, there's so many things you can do. By going in early, you can get things done before people get into the office. And I assume you're talking about work, right?
Correct.
Because that's where I'm going with it.
Correct.
And so, like, people that I coach in an executive manner are afraid to put a, do not disturb sign on their door, or have some kind of things that they filter through their phone system. Those are all very important because that gives you time to get your stuff done where you're, like, I know myself when I was in the corporate world, people come into your office and they're always wanting something or demanding your time. So, putting those boundaries, setting those boundaries are huge. We always have to set boundaries at work and at home. You have to be able to say no, you have to be able to set boundaries, and you have to be able to set appointments.
Gotcha. So my next question is, how would Ted conquer clutter, and why spring is the perfect time to begin the process?
Well, spring is wonderful because everybody is tired of winter and the drab and the cold, and spring comes and everything blossoms and everything's pretty, and you find gratitude in spring. You find gratitude and excitement. It's a new season, and everyone gets that internal excitement, and I think that internal vibration is a very good thing because we are energy. And so to become organized in your home, I know myself, I'm very fussy, I'm very organized. So to become organized in your home, you become organized in your life. Work goes better, things with your children go better. And so I just think I think spring is a great time to begin that process.
So let's get into revolutionizing your child's life. I mean, like I said, so for me, for one, I have a 8-year-old son, 13-year-old daughter. Of course, at this time, my daughter and I'm going through the early teen years, and things are starting to get a little difficult because the level of communication that we used to have is starting to slowly erode. And I'm not afraid to say that. So tell me from your book, give me a few tips for that dad and his favorite teen and how they could rebuild that bond, or just some things that he would need to look for.
Well, the first thing I do is commend you on the recognition of that. Communication is lost with technology and social media nowadays. So I give you a ton of credit because a lot of parents are in denial and won't admit that. So I think that's great. The second thing I have to say is understanding the developmental periods of a child's life is imperative. Birth to 7 is the imprint period, and everything is absorbed from the environment. However, where you're experiencing 7 to 14 is the modeling period, and that is where I see all of the issues begin to arise. And if you don't fix it within the modeling period, it's more difficult to fix once they get into the next period. But the modeling period is when they model other people's behavior, whether it's other children and their families. I have a ton of parents that will stop me and say, how did I raise 2 kids exactly the same and they turned out differently? And that's because in the modeling period, that's when they break away from that imprint period. And they are now discovering new things, new behavioral patterns. So my thing to you is watch behavioral patterns. See what's changing, and you'll understand that it'll give you an insight as to what direction your daughter's going. Once you get past the modeling period, they move into the socialization, which is 14 to 21, and that's when they become individualized. So you want to pay attention in the modeling period, 7 to 14, and that's where you want to fix the issues.
Gotcha. So I need some additional help because not just, I mean, I usually I would say, oh, well, person X sent me a question on Twitter about this upcoming interview, but what are the telltale signs that your child is being bullied?
Well, when they're being bullied, there are many signs. They become withdrawn. When they spend a lot of time alone in the room, a lot of parents love that because they're like, okay, they're out of my hair, they're getting good grades in school. One example I will give you is, and these are coaching examples that I have. I had this young girl that came from the perfect family. They spent a ton of family time together. She was a cheerleader. She was in all the sports. She was most popular. She was spending a ton of time alone in her room, and she was cutting herself, and her parents had absolutely no idea. They're wonderful parents, but they just had no idea. And I believe it goes back to what you even said, that the communication is different nowadays. It's lost with social media and internet and whatnot. So it's being able to look for those signs and to understand those types of things.
So, Peggy, tell me this, because I've been in IT for almost 20 years, so I'm pretty familiar with social media and screen time. And I know you're an expert in that, but my follow-up question is, tell us about how teaching your child the principles of entrepreneurship can help them become successful adults.
Oh, it's so powerful. I absolutely love that fact. Kids don't even know what their hidden talents and abilities are. So to do, like I do, like a discover your skill set exercise, and let me give you an example of that. I had a child who was brought to me, and she come from a very bullied background. I mean, probably the worst I've seen. Family issues and whatnot. But everyone said, like, she just loved horses and whatnot. And so I worked with her, and I said, okay, she's 12 years old. She can't possibly just do something with horses right now. So I did the Discover Your Skill Set exercise and found out that she was very artistic, and I bought her a program on how to become a cartoonist. That turned her life around. She started building a business at a very young age, and it's a redirection. When we are faced with negativity, we need a redirection toward positivity, and that is a very difficult thing to do. So when you instill those entrepreneurial skills in those children, it helps them set and reach goals. It enhances interpersonal relations, communication, leadership skills. It teaches them how to set and reach goals. Those are all good things. So a lot of parents will say, well, what if my child doesn't want to own their own business? It doesn't matter if you want to own your own business. It will still help you in the corporate world.
Got you. So tell me how the subconscious mind really works, Peggy.
Well, as I stated earlier, that your conscious mind is your reasoning mind. It has the ability to accept or reject anything at the conscious level. However, once you accept it, it goes into the subconscious mind, and that's what produces your actions. Your thoughts produce your feelings produce your actions. If you want to change your actions, you have to begin by changing your thoughts. But your subconscious mind can't reason, and that's why a lot of people, when you see like hypnotherapy, you'd be surprised how many people come for smoking, weight loss, habits, fears, and that's because those things have been imprinted and instilled into the subconscious mind. They're behavioral patterns that need to be changed, and it's very difficult because your subconscious mind only produces what it knows, good or bad, positive or negative. It can't differentiate between the two. Therefore, when, if you do something bad and you've done something bad your whole life, your subconscious mind can't say, hey, that's wrong. It doesn't do that. Your conscious mind is your reasoning mind, but once it's in the subconscious mind, that's why it's so difficult to change, because it doesn't reason. And that's why hypnotherapy is a very, very good thing in helping change, like I said, smoking cessation and weight loss and that type of thing.
Peggy, I'm going to tell you tonight, you've been a dream, because now, I think Iana Van Zandt, she says, fix my life, but you've uncluttered my desk, you've helped me with my children, and you've been an excellent guest.
Well, thank you for that. I so appreciate that compliment.
Oh, my goodness. I want to give you a one-time round of applause. My final question to you is, what are the best ways to get in contact with you via social media? And I want you to plug your latest book.
Well, the latest book that I've been promoting is my Revolutionize Your Child's Life, and everything about me can be found on my website, which is the best place to go. Even though my book is available on all the online bookstores, but my website is lifecoachingandbeyond.com.
Excellent. Well, I definitely, really quickly, could you give us the titles to your other two books?
My first book is Revolutionize Your Life. This one is Revolutionize Your Child's Life. And the third one in the series of the three is not released yet, but it's going to be Revolutionize Your Corporate Life, because I do executive coaching.
That's the one that I will be calling you personally for, because I tell you, with being in IT, you're pushed in so many different directions, and there's no off button. But sometimes I do just turn the devices off. So I'm definitely going to be looking to have you back here. I want to thank you so much. We're going to have you back here soon, because you have, so much knowledge, and you can help just not myself, I'm being a little selfish here, but you can also help our listeners. So, Peggy, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you for having me, and have a great night.
You too. And that was Peggy Caruso, our lead guest for the evening. And sometimes the lead guest is first up.